that changed last week. Jeff's romantic life is unusual, to say the least. From what I know, it mostly consists of one-night stands and third-wheeling scenarios. He's openly poly, and I've heard far too much about it from him. Not my lifestyle, but whatever floats your boat. What bothered me, though, is how he tries to pitch it to people in monogamous relationships, almost like he's trying to sell them on the idea. Last week, Emily and I tagged along with her friends for an outing, and we ended up at a dive bar for drinks. Jeff tagged along too. He was even more off-putting than usual, acting overly buddy-buddy with me. At one point, he brought up his most recent poly relationship, where he was third-wheeling another couple. It was awkward, but it got worse when, out of nowhere, he suggested we try something like that ourselves. In short, he asked us to open our relationship and become a triad with him. He knows I'm straight, so what he really meant was that he wants to sleep with Emily and expects me to be okay with it. Emily declined, and I wanted to tear into the creep, but she made me leave before I caused a scene. Suffice it to say, I'm not comfortable with her continuing to associate with him. I've made it clear that what he did was completely disrespectful of our relationship, and I don't trust him not to try something worse. Emily, however, disagrees. She says this is just how Jeff operates, which makes me even more uncomfortable. He's not neurotypical, and her whole friend group has been using that as an excuse for so long. I'm sick of hearing it. We've been arguing nonstop about this. She doesn't think it's enough of a reason to cut him off, and I can't understand why. Her friends have essentially stayed out of it. I talked to someone who's an ex-friend of Jeff's from high school, and they confirmed that Jeff has tried to break up Emily's past relationships. They believe this is another attempt. Emily was planning to go out with friends to a movie, which included Jeff. We had another massive argument where I told her not to come back if she went. She's been staying at her parents' house since. Right now, I feel like I'm living in a bizarre world. Every strange thing about her and her friends now sticks out like porcupine quills. It feels like I'm the only one who sees a problem with Jeff, and that my opinion doesn't matter. Emily refuses to explain what makes Jeff so important that she's willing to put our relationship at risk for him. How do I even proceed at this point? It feels like I'm being walked over. How can I convey how uncomfortable I am, or is it even worth it at this point? Update. My ex-girlfriend has been leading a neurodivergent man on for over a decade to scam money from him, even while we were together. I wasted the last 4 years of my life with Emily, thinking she was a good and honest person. Boy, was I wrong. There were signs that her friend group was a circus, but I ignored them. After the polyamory incident, I couldn't anymore. Things that ex-friends told me about Jeff and Emily made me start digging. I contacted one of Emily's exes and learned something very interesting. In high school, Jeff was giving Emily hundreds of dollars that he was stealing from his parents. Emily and I had been arguing constantly after Jeff's request, and she had been staying with her parents while things cooled off. When she came back to our place this week, I decided to confront her and asked if Jeff was still giving her money. She denied it at first, but I told her if she didn't tell me the truth, I'd forward texts she sent me commenting on Jeff's body and face to Jeff himself. Turns out, Jeff has been giving Emily money since they met, and he's continued doing so throughout the 4 years we were together, sometimes sending her hundreds of dollars each month. Their texts were flirty, and while she didn't outright say she was interested in him, she heavily implied that it just wasn't the right time for her to be with him. She reassured me she wasn't interested in him and even implied that she hated him. I asked if her friends were also taking money from Jeff, and she said she didn't know. Yesterday, I packed up my stuff and moved in with my brother until I find a new place. I've blocked Emily and sent Jeff a message showing him how she talks about him behind his back. I'm 99% sure Jeff is still stealing from his parents, as he lives with them. I found their numbers and texted them to let them know what's going on. Moving on from 4 wasted years is going to be tough.